Hi again, and I would like to do another video on some of these very strange ideas and concepts. Well, before I start, I want to tell you that if you understand me, and you should really congratulate yourself because uh, this stuff is really complex philosophical or spiritual ideas. Even if you have a clue of what's going on here, you really should give yourself a medal or a PhD. Okay, so I want to talk about something that has been going or running around, running throughout history for a very long time. These concepts, they are very old, and they run through different societies and civilizations almost forever, and they are just two ways of looking at the world. They are like two narratives, and I believe in our times these narratives, they're converging and they're becoming one narrative. But just bear with me. I'll go through a few examples, and I would like to narrate many examples to show you that this has been going on for a very long time, and many different cultures, they come in and they do something with it, and then they move on. Um, and there is nothing new there, but the deeper you look at these different schools of thought, the more you come to think that at some point they'll converge and they'll become just one school of thought. Uh, but well, in the ancient times, the Greeks, they had two schools of philosophy that they really cared about. The first school, which culminated in the scientific method after Renaissance, that was based on trying to understand the world by reason, by explaining it in a logical, you know, deductive manner. And the second school, which and this second school, the adherent of which they had very ill reputation, the Greeks used to call them the sophistry, which means like being a charlatan or a liar. Maybe I should change my name to Charlatan Hassan, but yeah, this school didn't have much respect in society. It was the school that the oracles and spiritualists and spiritists and who else? People who practice necromancy and psychic phenomena, they were adherent of such a school if they even wanted to proclaim such an adherence. But the these two schools, they run in almost every society. Well, I wanna tell you the Islamic version of it, which is not really too well known here in the West. The Muslims, they call the the narrative that tries to explain the world in logical and using reason, they call them mantiqiyun, which means the logicians, the deductive reasoners. And they call the spiritualists, they call them the Hokamay Mashai, which means the philosophers that are this way. By that, this way, they meant the spiritualists. Like Masha means like a way, like a way of doing things. So that's a connotation. The Arabs, the words, they everything depends on the connotation of the word. even though just a little nuance, it makes a huge difference in their language. But also this same argument runs in the British society in Newton times, and afterwards a lot of scientists were totally dedicated to scientific method and finding answers by experimentation and by logical reasoning, and it became the scientific method. And all the same scientists, they were often the members of the Psychical Research Society, because it just shows you that a lot of them they had an inkling, and they knew that there is something else to that we should consider the cult as worthy of study, but they didn't know how to justify it, or they didn't know how to go about it. You find very good scientists that are members of Psychical Society, or they study mediumship or occult, or what they call it, necromancy, or telepathy, or all that. But they were like Gauss, the mathematician. They really didn't want to publicize their sentiments, because it conflicted with the society's current projection, current belief system. Afterwards, there was the development of quantum mechanics, and many scientists they were puzzled by all the strange results of the quantum mechanics, and they had no choice but to go back to these older philosophies like Heisenberg and Bohr and other scientists, Einstein. They were very puzzled by quantum entanglement. Well, quantum entanglement says that all the particles in the universe, they are hooked together in some way, and at some point they were hooked together, and a particle could be across the universe, and it can affect the other particles that are right here. So that means that the universe is non-local, which is completely bizarre idea. You have to treat the universe as a whole, as a total unity, like a bacteria. Okay, every part is affecting every other part. That's so crazy. And other ideas which later on they discovered the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and it says that at some small length scale, you cannot use reductionist methods to predict the motion or action of a particle. That means there is something underneath this layer. It's like a whole vast biological system, or a system that's so complex, it's like biology, and it determines the next phase of this particle. These ideas were so bizarre, and they had no choice but to pick up their philosophy books and go back to Greeks and ancient Indians, and try to make some kind of sense of all these new discoveries. And the only sense that I think we should make is that we should treat the whole universe as a unity, treat it as a conscious being, as intelligence in itself, and everything else is derived from that. That means the universe is really simulating all these beings and all these creatures, and we should not treat the universe as an inanimate object. It's not really true. And the equations and the physics tell us in so many ways, but many scientists, they were not brought out to feel or to make the leap or make the connection. They were brought out in the school of Newtonian physics or reductionist philosophies, and these ideas are very strange to them, and they would like to classify them in some corner, you know. Anyhow, these concepts, they also have a relationship to these other ideas that are also even more strange. But when I was trying to make up this lecture, I was puzzled. Maybe I should make two lectures, two different discussion topics. But I think that they are related in some strange ways. I believe that as a human being, we have multiple brains, okay, and that's why our philosophies are double-sided. One is reductionist and one is spiritualist. Okay, the left side of our brain is more mathematical and more exact kind of brain, and it goes through steps to show the reasoning behind everything. That's a reductionist part of our being. The right side is more holistic, and you could give it many little clues here and there, and it doesn't interact too much with the consciousness. But hey, 5 days down the road, suddenly boom, the answer comes in. This is because your unconscious or your right side of your brain is thinking about it and working it out, and it puts it in a pattern, and then it suddenly shows up as a result, and it declares it. Okay, it's like a revelation. But we have two brains, really. We don't have one brain. That's why our philosophies are double-sided. They're not one-sided. Well, relying on one side is a mistake, even though it looks very seductive. Relying on the deductive reasoning and reason alone is kind of incomplete. And many scientists, they feel that there is something missing in here. What am I missing? And that's why they join the psychical societies, and you know, you just inherently you feel that this line of reasoning or this kind of inquiry is incomplete. There is some other part that should be part of this, but then I posit that we also have a third mind, which is really a universal mind, and we are able to connect to this universal mind, and information that really wasn't available to us, or information that we couldn't really reason to get to it, is stored in this universal mind. For example, you hear many things in Quran or Bible that there is, there is no prior knowledge that it should be so, but later on you come and study it and say, oh, this is what it is. For example, the Quran has some verses on origins of life. Bible has origins on the origins of the universe. Okay, these stuff. How did the nomadic or very primitive society came to such conclusions? When you read the works of past philosophers, you discover stuff they have said that is incredible. It's like they were pure mathematician, and just how did this person came to this conclusion? I mean, but we are all, everything is connected, and whatever subject you study, you will come to its spiritual side, and discover that the universe is a spirit, is a consciousness. Throughout history, the spiritualists and Hokamai Mashai, they haven't fared very well, and they were always under a lot of suspicion and a lot of misgivings, a lot of double checking their results, and kind of they were taken as a kind of charlatan, really. But in my personal life, I've had a lot of occult experiences, and I just refuse to believe that my experiences are illegitimate or questionable, especially when I look at them using the best of our scientific knowledge. But we'll go over some of these ideas. This video is getting old. Every time I do a video on these subjects, and later on I look at the video, I say, oh, you didn't say all this stuff you were supposed to say, all these things. But we'll go over more of these things later on, okay? And thank you very much.